You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of land and waters that this podcast is recorded on. Hello and welcome to Mamamia Out Loud and to our Friday show. You know what happens on Friday. We let go of the news cycle and we just take a deep breath in and then we just go...
Yes. We do a bit of, we were talking about Wim Hof.
Yes.
He'd want us to do, box breathing or something.
And in through one nostril and out through the other. But you wouldn't be able to hear that out loud, so that's fine. Maybe we are doing that.
Maybe, yeah.
It's Friday, the 18th of October, and my name is Holly Wainwright.
I'm Jessie Stevens.
And I'm Em Vernem. You can normally hear me on our daily entertainment podcast, The Spill. I'm filling in for Mia today.
And on the show, in defense of marital secrets, does intimacy really have to go hand in hand with being a wide open book? Also, we have your weekend recommendations for you. I've got a book that blew my tiny mind. Jessie is pretending she watches other things than true crime docos. And Em wants to tell you about something British and scary. Who is it?
It's not you.
My mother. Also, what it's really like to live without a phone, a man on a train, and the truth about Em's sickie. It's best and worst of the week. But first, Jessie Stevens.
In case you missed it, how you dream depends on where you're from and how old you are. Em, you're in your 20s, so I'm going to assume you dream in TikTok.
Yeah, and dancing only.
With sound bites where you're just mouthing. An article in the Washington Post looked at the differences between how we dream. And did you know that if you grew up without a colour television, so that would mean that you're in your 70s or something, then you're less likely to dream in colour.
Oh, I was going to say 50s, but I'm a bit off.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me.
It was once believed that dreaming in colour was associated with psychological issues, but that myth has now been dispelled. Younger people, based on a number of surveys, generally dream more in colour, but this drops by about 20% by the age of 60. Dream recall, including the level of detail, is understood to decline with age. Without telling me what you dreamed about last night, because I do not care, Em, do you dream in colour?
Yeah, I dream in colour. So are we saying that when I get older, I'll stop dreaming in colour? Like my ink runs out?
Yeah.
Or is it just the generations now?
No, I believe that as you get older, well, your recall declines, but yeah, it's not as kind of vivid. The colour isn't as vivid.
No, I still dream in colour, so that means I'm very youthful and young.
And do you dream in faces? Like, is it like a movie? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's like I'm living my life. So my worst dream ever is when I dream like that I'm coming to work, because then I wake up and I still have to go to work. So I feel like I've done it twice. I do have this reoccurring dream though that I thought everyone got until I started talking about it, and people are like, that's weird. Whereas like if I go to sleep without going to the bathroom before going to sleep and I need to start going to the bathroom, I'll dream about going to a toilet, but my dream will like stop me from actually entering the cubicle because it doesn't want me to pee the bed. Oh. And then I'll suddenly wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh no, I don't have those. I just get woken up like all the time by needing to pee.
So your subconscious is saying go.
It's protecting me. Yeah. And it's like making all these locks on the bathroom door that I can't get to.
I can't remember. I'm trying to think if I dream in colour. I must dream in colour, right? Because I'm not that old, But also, I don't know. I always remember the vibe of the dream rather than the visuals.
Same. What do you mean the vibe?
Was it scary? Was it happy? Was it good? Did I like it? Was it making me anxious?
So that's what a lot of research on dreams has said, that the thing that sticks with you about dreams often isn't the imagery but the feeling. You know, you wake up with a bad feeling some days and then you're like, oh, I had this terrible dream. Sometimes I put together the plot, but I think I've read that dreams are actually just your brain throwing you a bunch of random images from your day, and then the way the brain works is that it has to make a coherent story. So then you try and put something together. But I often just remember the plot. I don't think I dream in images or anything.
Really?
Yeah, I'm definitely not seeing it like a movie.
And you know, people dream in the language they're speaking and stuff like that, right? Because our head of content was telling us, because she lives in a bilingual house, her little boys still dream in Swedish, which is the language. Because they sleep talk.
She was saying they actually sleep talk in Swedish.
Which is the language their dad speaks to them and that they were immersed in when they were tiny, and she was pregnant with them.
In your dreams, does everyone have a British accent?
Yeah. It's a very good question.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to pay more attention next time I'm dreaming. When I was on holiday, you know how when you sleep in a strange, don't worry, I'm not going to tell you my dreams. I agree with you, Jessie, boring. But when I was on holiday, you know when you sleep in a strange bed, I had a really scary dream, like a nightmare like you have when you're a kid. And I woke up just like, but even now I couldn't tell you, was it colour? Was it in English? Was it in Mancunian? I don't know.
The Atlantic posted an article titled In Defense of Marital Secrets. It was based off an idea from Lauren Elkin's book called Scaffolding, which suggests that you actually shouldn't tell your partner everything and that total honesty can only take a relationship so far. This completely blew my mind because I've not been in a relationship and I thought the whole point of being in a relationship is that you finally have someone to tell everything to.
You know when you say you haven't been in a relationship, what's your longest relationship?
Probably like a year and a bit.
That's a relationship.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like
it's one that I want to forget about.
You don't call it like you haven't lived with someone or that kind of thing.
I haven't lived with someone.
So you've dated people, but not for longer than that.
Yeah. I've never been with someone where I was like, this is my person.
Right. Have you been in love?
Yes.
And did you feel like that should come with no secrets?
No, I think like when you live with someone, I think it's the 24/7. Like once you spend 24/7 with someone, that's when I feel like I believed when someone's meant to know everything about you.
And what you're speaking to is exactly the myth I think we're fed from childhood because I thought exactly the same thing. I have a twin, so I have a built-in best friend, but I definitely had this sense that one day there would be someone who really knew me inside and out. They knew everything about me and I would have this best friend where I was porous. And I guess this is like some sort of fairy tale thing perhaps we learn through movies and books and stuff, that someone will complete you and then you'll live with them and there'll never be any secrets and there'll be total intimacy. But this thing happens where you add in other factors like sex, like money, like kids, like in-laws. And suddenly, in fact, friendships are a lot simpler because with my best friends, we're not sharing money and we're not navigating a sex life and we're not deciding how to co-parent a child. So, in fact, to have a loving partnership, I've found that sometimes those secrets are necessary. Do you think the same thing, Holly?
Well, obviously I do.
Holly's partner doesn't even know where she lives.
I like my privacy. I do. I might live with 3 other people, and Brett and I have been together for 20 years.
She has a lock on her door.
I'm a very private person. When I read this headline, I loved it, In Defense of Marital Secrets, because I think as relationships progress, you do need to keep bits of yourself. And one of the things that blew this open for me, we've talked about this on the show before, but Jessie has just read All Fours by Miranda July, so have I, and it's a story about a woman in midlife who, she's having a midlife crisis, really. But one of the things in the first half of the book that she keeps saying about her relationship with her husband, which is all pretty ordinary relationship, to be honest, is that one day there will be some kind of breakthrough where they truly know each other in every way.
And they tell each other everything.
And that they're like just 2 souls like bleeding together, and he will truly know her in every way and understand all her weirdness and eccentricities, and her him, and they'll tell each other all their thoughts and all the weird things that you're scared to say out loud and all of those things, right? And that doesn't happen. But it's interesting because I do think, as Jessie says, that's what we think, that's what romantic love has to be. But that actually probably as relationships progress, to stay successful and healthy, you need to keep bits of yourself. You know what I mean? You need to remember that you're you and you're you. So we asked the Out Louders, right, about whether or not they think it's okay to keep secrets in their relationships. And they gave us some examples. But one of them that I like this, because you've got to remember, if you're thinking about marital secrets, there's a difference, and a very important difference between a secret and a lie, right? In my opinion, and obviously I'm a relationship guru, an unmarried relationship guru, in my mind there should be a bright line about lying, like not cool. White lies, I know that's a term that's very unpopular because all lies are deception, but I don't think it's a lie when somebody says, how much was that shirt? And you say, I can't remember. I don't think that's a lie.
See, my parents have always had a rule where I think they both know what happens. My mum halves the amount because she knows he'll double it.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Okay.
It's like Dad will say, how much did the new door cost? And she'll be like, $50. And he's like, it cost $100. And that's just how they speak.
Yeah. And so I think that doesn't
It's
count.
toxic.
Yeah. But no, I don't think that counts as a lie,
That's
right?
kinda cute.
I don't think that counts as a lie. Like, a lie is different. If someone asks you something directly and you don't tell them, that's a lie and that's a breach of trust. But not telling them everything, that's different, right? And
Yeah.
this, let me quote you, this Outlouder quoted Outlander. The Outlouders who have watched Outlander or read Outlander, that's the one about the very hot man in a kilt and some time traveling. That's all you need to know about that. But this Outlouder said one of the favourite lines about Outlander, not going to do the accent because that would be offensive to Scots everywhere, is there are things I can't tell you, at least not yet. And I'll ask nothing of you that you can't give me. But what I would ask of you when you do tell me something, let it be the truth. And I promise you the same. We have nothing between us but respect, perhaps. And I think that respect has some room for secrets, but not for lies. Do you agree? And I'm like, yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
I now live my life by Outlander quotes.
Yep.
I think that that's an important difference.
One of my friends, this is one of my favourite secrets, is that she had booked a Pilates class that she was meant to go to. And she rushed to get there and she missed it. Like, just was 5-10 minutes late, so couldn't go. And then she was like, well, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm going to go get drive-through. So she spent that hour sitting there just eating McDonald's. And when she got home, he said, how was the Pilates class? And she said, good. That
But is that a lie? That's a lie.
It probably is. But to me, harmless secret. Love that secret. The type of thing you will tell all of your friends, but you just look at them and you're like, I still want you to love me. Yeah, Pilates was good.
What about this one? This is another Outlouders one. My husband and I have no secrets from the time we've been together, but we haven't disclosed all the details of our lives before that. Because honestly, neither of us really need to know the antics of each other in their 20s. Is that cool?
I think so.
No.
In your mind, when you meet the one with capital
Yes.
T, capital O, you'll tell them everything that's ever happened to you and they'll tell you everything that's ever happened to them.
Yeah, I picture us going, like, doing the I love yous. Like, we're in bed doing the I love yous and we're sitting up and we're like, now go. And then you just, like, list
All your
every single
secrets.
thing about, like, your life, everything that no one else knows. And then he goes and we're like, will this make it? Hopefully.
Okay, here's an example, right?
Okay.
This is one. So you've been in a relationship, and one thing that Luca and I said before we got married is, and we're very influenced by Esther Perel, is just because you're married to someone or just because you're in a long-term monogamous relationship doesn't mean that every now and then you're going to find someone else attractive, right? There's going to be little crushes and that's absolutely fine. And the other day we were talking about something and something came up about someone that Luca thought was attractive. And he decided he would tell me that. And I thought that would best be kept a secret.
Yes.
Was it a real person or a celebrity?
Oh, it was a real person.
Yeah.
And he just kind of went on about it a bit. And I kept trying to cut him down and go, yeah, but, and then criticize him. And he was like, I don't really think that. And I just thought, that's an inside thought.
See, this is interesting because my general philosophy about relationships is that blanket rules are bullshit because we're all different. So we all know, any Outlouder knows that Jessie is a bit jealous. Is a bit
Yes,
so
thank you.
Luca should have shut up about that.
I reckon when you have a crush, I don't think you need to tell your partner about it.
No, agreed. But there are some couples for whom that would be quite exciting. And they would tease each other about it and be like, next time you're in the, you lose her who you like. And they would have fun with it. You're not that person.
I didn't think it was fun.
But do you secretly want to know?
This is the complexity, is that Luca will never and has never lied to me. Like, he is the honest to a fault. Probably his greatest flaw is that he could be a little bit gentler with the truth. But him telling me that also, in terms of trust, I just went, I've got nothing to worry about. Because honestly, Luca will call me before he cheats.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me
Just
about
letting
it.
you know.
Like, he's not going to do something behind my back. So in that way, there's the trust. But also there are some details, and I think this is also about, you might be at a certain position in your relationship. There are things that in any relationship you find hard about each other. And I don't think sometimes trying to hide those is necessarily a bad thing. So even like Luca and I have, I think it's a Barefoot Investor thing, the NQA account, which is the no questions asked account, which is like we get a certain amount of money every month and we don't look at what the other person wants. If I want to go and spend my money at Mecca and he thinks that that's not a good use of money, none of his business. And like we don't have to be in each other's pockets
because it's
a little secret.
It's not the family finances. It's
exactly.
Your money.
Totally different. And I think that finances, like if you're going to go and spend someone else's money or whatever, then that matters. But I think sparing like the person that you're with of things that are going to stress them out or like are just unnecessary, I think that can be a kindness.
I have another test for you, Em, and you and your imaginary partner. What about other people's secrets? Because what a lot of Out Louders said, there's a hierarchy of secrets, right? So what about a lot of Out Louders said, I keep any secret that isn't really mine. So say your friend, something about one of your mutual friends or something is about someone in their family or your family who's told you something in confidence. Do you tell your partner in this idyllic version of complete honesty?
See, I thought it was a given. I thought everything I told my friends, their partner would already would know.
Really?
I thought that came with the rules of a friend being in a relationship.
No.
So I've just been going meeting people's partners going, you probably know everything, and they're like, who are you? And I'm like,
oh no.
I'm that girl.
I have a strict, because next time we
that
go
makes
out
me
to
feel
dinner,
good though. As a friend, that makes me feel good that you're not telling your partner about me.
I mean, I might tell Brent things about our mutual friends that aren't a big deal. But if my friend has said to me, please don't tell anyone, then I won't tell him.
Really?
Yeah. Unless
what if he asks?
Well, I can't think of very many examples where he would. I mean, obviously you sometimes get in sticky situations where you're friends with a couple.
Yeah.
And that can be tricky when shit goes down. And I've lived through all that and you have to navigate that. That's hard. So there are things that you just wouldn't say because you don't want to put that person in a situation. But my loyalty remains with my friend who told me a secret.
Yeah,
unless it's something that would directly affect Brent's life. Imagine, for example, which wouldn't happen in my world, but if they said, you'll never guess what, but Brent's about to get fired. Obviously in that.
Don't tell him.
Yeah. But broadly speaking, a secret that isn't about me or mine, I wouldn't ever tell him that.
That makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
Oh.
What kind of assholes do you think your friends with partners are?
I just thought we were all doing this.
This is a great one from Karen, an Out Louder, who wishes there were more secrets in a relationship. I've spent the last, I don't know if this qualifies as a secret, but you can tell me. I've spent the last 25 years with my husband leaving very early for work, which left me with time to myself in the mornings. I still had the kids, but they were either asleep or busy getting ready for school. I used to take this time to pluck my chin hair, lip hair, after a shower, lift my big boobs up under the fan to dry out and spread my legs in front of the fan also to dry out, squeeze a pimple or wax the underarms bikini line, and basically have me time while I got ready for work. Well, now he's partly retired and is home all the time every morning. I don't like him knowing or seeing me dry out my big boobs under the fan. I've kept it private our whole married lives. Secret blown.
Oh, I love that so much. I
feel like bathroom secrets are different though. Whatever happens in the bathroom stays in the bathroom.
I agree. And there's even, if I'm at home with Luna for the day and Luke asks me about my day, I will omit a nap. If I went and had a nap when there are just certain things that make me sound a little bit shitter. And I'm like,
you're like, well, this is the person I wanted to be today, so you're going to get that version.
So I slaved over the stove and I was actually napping for that. Or if I missed a deadline and I did something I wouldn't tell him that because I like not being the person who missed the deadline.
I agree.
So you just tell a little lie.
What about Botox? So quite a few Out Louders say that the secret they keep from their partner is their anti-wrinkle injections. Do we have any judgments about that?
I would tell about the injections if I got injections, only because I feel like if it was obvious, because I feel like sometimes it's obvious with women that I feel like someone would be like, oh, I didn't know Emily got Botox to my partner. And then he'd be like, what?
Thoughts?
I have friends that wouldn't tell their partner just because they can't be bothered having the conversation because their partner's going to go, I think you look beautiful without it. And it's it's not about you. In which case I kind of defend that. The question for me is, does the secret erode trust? And if you're not looking them in the eye lying, then I don't think it necessarily does. And there are certain secrets that can make a marriage more loving.
Oh.
Because you know each other's soft spots. You know each other's the bits that you might just kind of dance around a little bit. And so a lot of women as well saying that they go to the hairdresser and they don't tell their partner how much their hair cost. I mean, you could probably check the bank statement, but I don't feel like that's a conversation that needs to happen.
It's definitely not a conversation that needs to happen. We asked some of our Mamamia staff about secrets they would keep in relationships, and this is what they said.
When it comes to keeping secrets, my partner knows nothing about what I spend and I completely control the budget.
My partner and I have been together for 8 years now, and for 2 of those years I was a pretty heavy smoker and I completely kept it from him and he had no clue. I felt terrible all the time. We were living together and I was smoking in our backyard. Only reason why I kept it from him was because I knew he hated smoking and I didn't want him to lecture me, so I just kept it under wraps.
So very early on in our relationship, one of my partner's best friends told me that I was too good for my partner and that I should leave him, and that he thought I was punching and that my partner wasn't good enough for me. That person isn't in our life anymore. They stopped being friends, but I never told my partner because I thought it would upset him, and I didn't agree. And here we are, 12 years, 2 kids later, a beautiful life, and they were clearly wrong, and I still think that I wouldn't tell my partner now because there's no point.
I think it's absolutely fine if someone fakes an orgasm in a marriage. You know, we're all busy, we're all tired, and you don't want anyone to feel bad like they're underperforming, so it's kind of an act of kindness if you just pretend, yeah, that was great, but really you just want to go to sleep.
I love making my husband guess how much my makeup and beauty products cost. And of course I say, sure, darling, when he guesses, which is always completely wrong.
I don't keep a single secret from my partner. Sometimes actually he tells me that I should keep more secrets from him and I don't need to tell him quite so much, but I'm an open book.
What was interesting to me about the ones from the Mamamia people is money is a big thing that comes up a lot, right? And whether or not you have to be honest about what you spend on what. And I think that's a big issue for you if you have had issues with money in the past.
Yeah.
Sex is interesting.
Yeah.
The one about faking orgasms. No one's faking orgasms in your perfect imaginary relationship.
My imaginary relationship. I'm like, okay, you can fake an orgasm if you're in a long-term relationship. Don't fake an orgasm if you're just like short-term or dating because you're doing every other woman a disservice.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
You mean when they're this person is set loose back out into
You're only
the world.
fucking yourself over.
Yeah.
You are. But the one that's probably the most interesting there in a way is the one she's never told her partner that the friend said something horrible about him. I think those are always secrets worth keeping, is ones that would just really upset someone. And like, what's the point of telling anyone that? Like, what's the point of upsetting somebody in
If
that
anyone
way?
in your life has ever said anything awful about them, no way I would be repeating that.
The smoker one, she's dreaming. He knew the whole time. I went through that. I used to be a smoker and I had a boyfriend who was so anti-smoking, and I used to sneak out and I was there with the bloody washing up gloves and the polo mints and the chewing gum and the air freshener, like as if he didn't know. He knew. And when we broke up, he was like, and I know that you still smoke. And I was like, me? What do you mean?
Probably seeing you with your bag of supplies every day.
I never would. I don't know what you mean.
That's the problem with living in a house with someone. I tried to keep a secret recently just for a bit of fun, spice things up. And Luca walked in and looked me in the eye and said, when were you going to tell me? And then just delivered my secret. And I was like, I didn't have to confess. Outlouders, jump in the Mamamia Outlouders Facebook group. We have a thread that we've pinned in there with just all of the secrets that people are keeping from their partners, what they think they can keep or shouldn't keep. Please jump in and let us know.
Well, it's all right. I'm your fiancé. Everyone assumes you'll tell me everything.
Where'd you get that from?
Well, we're a couple. It's understood.
I never heard of that.
Well, you've never been a couple.
I've coupled.
Keeping secrets.
Mamamia Out Loud!
It's Friday and we have recommendations for your weekend for you. So Jessie Stevens, recommend a TV show?
This is right up your alley, Holly. Have you heard of this yet?
No,
It's
I haven't.
Disclaimer.
I saw the notes in the script and I was like, why haven't I heard of this?
Yes, it's because you've been on a desert island with no reception. But I'm breaking some rules here because I've only watched 2 episodes, but that's because there's only 2 episodes available. And I wanted to recommend something that isn't a true crime doco. Just in brackets here, the new Menendez doco. Has anyone seen that?
Is that worth my time?
Oh, so good, so good.
Do we now think they should be let out?
They should be let out, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, no, that's what I believe.
Kim Kardashian says so, and I generally choose to believe her.
Them.
Yeah.
Kardashian's absolutely right. They should be let out. That is the documentary. I didn't watch the TV series.
Don't watch the TV series.
No, watch the doco. That was fantastic. And the Lacey Peterson one, also brilliant.
Okay, something that isn't true crime, please, Jessie Stevens.
Okay, this is fake crime. I have watched, disclaimer, Apple TV, and I wanted to fill the hole of presumed innocent.
Sorry. The show's called Disclaimer, or you were making a disclaimer?
The show is called Disclaimer. The show is called Disclaimer. It's I keep forgetting it. I keep thinking it's called Disclosure or something. Anyway, I wanted to fill the hole of presumed innocent because that was brilliant. And then I read about this, and it is made by an Oscar-winning director. It has Cate Blanchett and Sacha Baron Cohen in the lead roles. And it recently premiered at one of the fancy film festivals and has almost universally positive reviews. This is the premise. Blanchett plays a famed documentary journalist, and she gets sent this book or novel, and you watch her in one of the first scenes read this book, and she runs to the toilet and vomits, and it's just triggered a real emotional response. And it's because she recognises herself as one of the characters, and it has revealed a secret that she's been trying to keep hidden for years and years and years. So it's very Marital Secrets.
Oh. All these years, you have concealed parts of yourself from the world.
To a beacon of truth. Somebody who inspires me every day.
You keep everyone in the dark to maintain a balance. And you think you have succeeded. Until now.
It is very cinematic. It feels like a movie that's over like a series,
nice.
really kind of premium. First to have dropped, next to it dropping tonight, and then it's like every week until mid-November. But everyone's talking about it. It's very mysterious, thriller, dark, and it's got Cate Blanchett. Brilliant.
Sounds amazing.
Very, very, very good.
I'm jumping in between the two TV shows with a book I have read, which I know Jessie has also read, not least because we're both interviewing the author. In fact, I did it last night. Jodi Picoult. I think you might have heard of her. She's just written a few little books.
Yeah.
Just a few little books like My Sister's Keeper.
Yep.
Books
Mad
like
Honey,
Mad
I read
Honey,
recently.
Books like Small Great Things, all these amazing books. Anyway, her most recent book is called By Any Other Name. And the reason it blew my mind, like all her books are very immersive. She's absolute master of plot, but she also goes deep into whatever she's writing about. And this is historical fiction.
After I read Mad Honey, I am a beekeeper. There's not a single thing I don't know about bees.
Yeah, she is research heavy, but also very easy to read. Anyway, By Any Other Name, the reason it blew my tiny mind, the broad premise is it's a historical fiction, and it's about, although it plays out in two timelines, two women. But the main premise is that William Shakespeare, the most famous playwright who ever lived.
I'm familiar.
No,
familiar with his work.
I'm glad. Assume no knowledge, you never know. Did not write his plays. Now I know, because I've read this book and then did lots of Googling, this is a well-established theory, right? That there's a group of people for hundreds of years who have believed that Shakespeare was actually either a group of people or somebody else entirely.
Because he wrote in detail about places he'd never been to, about all of these. It's almost like he was a publishing company who employed other authors, like other people to write his plays.
There are a lot of people who do not subscribe to this theory. It's worth saying, of course. There are lots of people who do believe he was a genius and that he wrote all these plays. But the premise of this book is that Shakespeare was really a woman, or mostly a woman, a specific woman who was the first published poet in Britain called Amelia Bassano. And it is such an interesting novel because that might sound quite dry on the surface of it if you're not really interested in whether or not Shakespeare wrote his plays. But what it does so brilliantly is dives into a world where women had no agency whatsoever, right? So Amelia Bassano is a woman who was born sort of not wealthy, didn't have status that meant she was going to marry some high up aristocrat or whatever. So she got farmed out very young. And this is a real person who did exist. This is all true. Got farmed out very young to be the mistress to a fancy guy, which is what happened in those days. And you get kept. And then all these things happen to her. But really, she is this artist. It's so interesting because then, of course, Picot overlays it with a current plot line about a female playwright who also is finding it very hard to get any credit in that world because female writers are overlooked. It's really good. Like, I just found the historical element, I was page turning because I wanted to know what happened to Amelia. It also blew my mind about this whole idea that maybe Shakespeare wasn't Shakespeare. And also the stuff about the current day playwright. I hadn't really considered that there are still so few women in that area.
It's really smart. And it got me in. The hook at the beginning is very, very good. It's very pacey. By any other name, Jodie Picot.
I am recommending a newish show on Binge called Sweet Pea. Actually, our CEO, Nat Harvey, recommended it to me, and she started talking about it to me in a way that I should have known what it was because entertainment podcast.
And
I
then
was like, I have no
she's
idea.
like, obviously you're
She's
watching
like,
Sweet Pea.
We need to reevaluate your job. So it's a dark comedy that's set in the UK. It stars Ella Purnell, who you might know from Yellow Jackets or Fallout. If you've watched any of those shows, brilliant.
Yeah. But I'm sure I would know her if I saw her.
Everyone else in the world has watched Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, it's true.
It's massive.
She's got like the biggest eyes ever. I think she's going to be like the next Florence Pugh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she plays this girl named Rhiannon Lewis who had an absolutely awful childhood, like relentlessly bullied. And it's kind of like those bullying situations that just makes you into an adult that you don't want to be. Like everyone was walking over her metaphorically, physically. Everyone's stepping over her. No one really likes her. They find her really weird. So she makes a list of people that she hates who has like kind of destroyed her life. And then she starts killing them.
I'm not a victim. Not anymore. You made me feel invisible.
You didn't exist to me then, and you don't now.
You ruined my life. Don't underestimate me.
She's not who you think she is.
Fun.
And after every kill,
It's Jessie Stevens.
it's actually it's so funny. After every kill, she gets like this wave of like self-assurance and confidence, and she like is better at her hair and makeup, and she looks more put together.
Ooh.
And everyone starts recognizing her and appreciating her. It's so funny. It also has Jeremy Swift, who played Higgins in Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
He plays her boss, so she's like a reporter, and like it's just so good.
It's called Sweet Pea.
Sweet Pea on Binge.
That sounds good.
For links to all of our recommendations, make sure you are signed up to the Mamamia Out Loud newsletter. I literally pour my heart and soul into it every single week.
If you want to know what's going on in Em's mind, you put together the best newsletter.
In there. And if you've already subscribed, share it with a friend because they're going to love it. They'll love it. We will put a link to that in our show notes.
Want unlimited Out Loud access? We drop episodes every Tuesday and Thursday exclusively for Mamamia subscribers. Follow the link in the show notes to get us in your ears 5 days a week. And a huge thank you to all our current subscribers. It is time for our best and worst of the week. Holly, let's start with your worst.
Ooh. My worst. I listened to the episode you did last week when Em was sick with Amelia, where you talked about cancelling plans. That wasn't my worst. It was a very good episode. Don't worry.
I hated it.
And it was terrible. It was the worst thing that it wasn't at all. But I had to cancel a plan this week for very sad reasons that I hated. I hate cancelling things that people have been counting on you. But I was meant to be today flying to Perth, actually, to speak at a fiction festival. If you were going to that, I'm sorry, everybody, because I'm not going. But I had to cancel because Brent's father's really unwell in New Zealand and he's had to fly to be with him. And it's one of those, I've talked about this often, but one of those really shitty family moments where living far from your family, whether it's in New Zealand, whether it's in England, whether it's in another state, whether it's in another city, it's just so difficult and so emotionally, logistically, mentally challenging all the time. And we've just been on this amazing holiday, which I'm about to tell you about, but we're coming back and like being slapped in the face with all that reality and then having to cancel this important work thing I wanted to do, but for obviously very important reasons. That was definitely my worst. And my heart goes out to anyone who's juggling all that stuff at the moment with elderly parents and
illness, as you say, when you can't go and visit. You can't just get in your car and go visit.
And there are these terrible maths that everybody has to do in this instant where you're like, Will
Do
I
I go
make
now
it? Do
or
I
do
go
I go-
now? Do I go afterwards? Do I go? And it's just awful. So, it's Brent's worst, no doubt. But also, in terms of cancelling plans, there are really shitty reasons for doing it. And that's what happened to me this week. So if you are going to see me at the Perth Fiction Festival this weekend, I apologise for not being there. You won't miss me. There are so many amazing writers on the panel I was going to be on, but that's why I'm not. My best, though, is that we have just been on the most amazing family holiday for a week, and we went to a place called Lord Howe Island, which some of you might have heard of. The people always say, oh, is it like a tropical island? It's actually officially in New South Wales, even though it takes 2 hours to fly there. It's right little tiny dot in the middle of the ocean.
I find that so wild because I've seen photos and I'm like, it looks like you're in a different country.
Yeah, right. It is the most beautiful place, and I'll share some I haven't put any photos online yet, but I'll share some photos maybe in the newsletter, Em, if you want them.
Yeah, please.
And I'm sure I'll get around to sharing some more later. But it's the most perfect place. But the exciting thing, one of the many exciting things about Lord Howe Island, is it has no mobile phone reception and no Wi-Fi coverage. So there are a couple of places on the island, some like resorts and lodges, but not the one that we stay at, that has internet. But generally speaking, it doesn't. And you can't call people and you can't text people. And it's very unplugged. So I made a decision to take advantage of this because life's busy and everything. And I was like, I'm going to literally unplug for a week and I'm only going to use my phone as a camera. It's only allowed to be a camera. And I went into a cafe and checked Wi-Fi like a couple of times, obviously check important things like family stuff, as we were discussing about Brent. It was a revelation.
Are you a different person?
Yes.
Are all your mental illnesses cured? Please elaborate.
Okay, here are some things that happen when you're off internet for a week, particularly for me, who lives a lot on social media for both professional and personal reasons. I often say it's for professional reasons, but come on now. Come on. There are a lot more hours in the day when you are not scrolling on your phone. There is literally a lot more time.
But what do you do in them?
Well, you read a book.
What does
you go for a swim?
What does your thumb do? Does it get a bit bored?
You go for a walk. You go for a swim. You do other things. But I literally couldn't believe how long the day was. It was amazing.
Oh.
I'd wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to lie in bed because I could, because my kids are old enough now that I'm not jumping out of bed. I'm going to lie in bed until whatever time and finish this book that I'm reading or whatever. And I don't have that constant niggle in my head of what's happening on Instagram? What's happening on, I didn't know. So that was one thing. Life is long. It's inconvenient because you can't text your partner and go, we're at the cafe or we're at the beach or we're going to stay a bit longer here. Everyone just has to accept, I'm sure they're somewhere. I'm sure
we're on an
sure they're
island.
around.
Yeah.
I don't know. They'll turn up. That was that. That was interesting. Being cut off from the news cycle is good and bad because you can genuinely live life as if all the awful things that are happening in the world aren't happening in the world. And that might be good for you, but it's probably not good for the world. You know what I mean? Because we do probably need to know what those things are. My first instinct every morning when I wake up is I check various news sites, Instagram, my messages, my WhatsApp. And I do that every morning before I wake up. The other disadvantage, though, is how I'm trying to become a different person and meditate.
How do you meditate without a phone?
Well, this was the thing, is that I was like,
what do you mean?
How do you set a timer and put on your Calm app?
This is the thing, is I was like, on the first morning, because we're staying in this lovely resort called Pine Trees. It's so beautiful there. It's so peaceful. We had this deck that was all greenery. I'm like, I'm going to get up. I woke up early. I'm going to go and sit out on the deck and I'm going to do my meditation. Pulled out my app to press for meditation. I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't do that. Damn, what do I do? What do I do?
Now I'm thinking too much.
I'm supposed to think and breathe and think and breathe. And then so when I went to the cafe for Wi-Fi later that day, I downloaded 3 meditations. So anyway, I came back like a semi-different person, but not really. And then, so I'm trying to change my morning habit now because I'm like, do I need to do that the first thing I do when I wake up? Scroll my phone? No. Will the world end if I don't check my messages for another half an hour? No. So I'm going to try and do that. But the best was that amazing holiday in that amazing place and being unplugged. It was great.
Oh, I want to go so badly.
It was so beautiful. We swam with turtles. We went hiking. It was just, so heaven.
Wholesome. All right, I'm going to go next. My worst, it was actually really scary. I was coming to work on Monday morning and I was getting the train and I was getting off at King's Cross Station, which is right near our work. I thought that as I was getting off, someone sort of tripped over me and I stopped and looked up. And this man who'd been standing near the door had then fallen down all of the stairs on the train.
So he was in like the top cabin
He
bit.
was on the top cabin bit, had fallen all the way down and had landed in a way I've never seen a human being land.
Oh, no.
And for a second I went, did I trip him? Like, was I so in my own head that I tripped him? And then I saw the colour of his face and I heard a few people at that stage. I was standing between the doors to just be like, don't leave. Like, we need to get paramedics or something on here. But someone said he's fainted. And he had collapsed. He'd been standing there and he'd collapsed down the stairs and he was still unconscious. It was so horrific to be that close to it, but also you like to think that in that situation you'd be a hero. And I felt a little bit frozen. And I stood in between the doors and I signalled for the person on the train, just kind of like, can you come over? And I don't think they realised what was going on. And then I had that moment of, do I call the ambulance or is that more confusing because he was on a walkie-talkie? And it was just, there were all these people around. I mean, what was great was that there were people that definitely knew what to do, that knew not to move him. This lovely woman just held his hand and just went, you're okay, and was so comforting. And I've been the person who has fainted in public before, and when you come to, it is fucking terrifying because you're like, where am I? What's happened? You're embarrassed. And something had like he looked incredibly unwell. But yeah, just that moment of going, oh my goodness, have I done something? And also not knowing what your role is in that situation.
It's interesting because you probably have the same thing too. That happened to me not that long ago at the train station when a man collapsed, and a lot of people were helping him. And so then you think, if I try and help too, I'm just going to make things more confusing. But then you're like, but do I really just walk past?
Exactly.
And am I a bad person if I walk past, or am I a bad person if I try and get involved? And like, what if somebody doesn't have a phone? And then you remember everybody's got a phone, and it's confusing.
Yeah, you sort of don't know what to do. It was really, really confronting. And now I can't stop thinking about that man. And you never get to check.
Yeah.
You never get to go back and go, hey, was that man all right? Because I haven't stopped thinking about him since Monday. So that was really scary. My best of the week was last week I hosted Zoe Foster-Blake's book launch. She's written this new book called Things Will Come Down Soon. It is fantastic. It is about female founders and the world of female business. Really interesting. And so I went and hosted this, and I'd had a really rough day at work and was just, you know, when you don't feel in the right headspace to do something you're looking forward to, because you just kind of, in the car, I kept trying to take the deep breaths and be like, okay, calm yourself down, get into it. And look, I knew I was prepared, and you know with those events that they're not about you, but how important they are to the person you're hosting it for. And it was at Bondi Pavilion. It was a big deal. I was like, I want to do a good job. So tried really hard. And then when we walked off, you know, people were like, good job, good job. But you go, you know, everyone has to say good job. And then you kind of go home and you wonder if you did do a good job. But as I was walking out, this woman came over to me who works at this venue and said, I'm here for a lot of these. We do these all the time. And that was brilliant. Like, I want to let you know what a good job you did. And she looked me in the eye, and it was so, like, genuine. And I never feel it when people say lovely things like that. And I walked out going, oh, I actually feel like I did a really good job today. And I thought, that is such a reminder that I don't do it enough, where it's like your barista or the chef, when you're out in public and you see someone do a great job at something and you go, oh, they probably just know. This woman just really took her time to tell me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I haven't stopped thinking about it all week, where I was like, oh, I don't know, it actually made me feel proud. So now I'm like committing to going, I'm going to do better at telling people when they've done a good job at something.
It also reminds me of like telling people, like, compliment them more. Even like if you don't really know them and stuff, if you genuinely think something's good that they've done, like, say it.
Yeah, exactly right. It'll totally like change their week. Em, what was your worst?
Okay, my worst was a bit trivial, but I was on a date with a guy. We went for a walk in a park. We were probably out in this like public park for about an hour. And then we went back to mine and we were kind of just lounging about, and I was lying down and he put his hand on my arm and was like, Em, you've got your period. And I was like,
oh, no.
What?
No.
And it was like a week early, and I'm like, what? Like, I was genuinely confused. And then he looked down and I looked down, bled through like my light blue linen pants, like completely.
Darling. What? No, okay, back up. I have questions. Mia isn't here, so I have to step into the inappropriate question role here. What number date?
Second date.
Do we like him?
Unclear. It's second date.
Yeah, but like, you know whether or not you feel comfortable with him.
Do you? I was not comfortable in that moment.
No, not in that moment.
Right now.
Was the way he said it like off-putting because he was like judgy about it, or was he
being
cool
nice about it?
He was very cool about it, as in like he was just a normal person.
He wasn't like going,
no,
you've got your period.
No, we still continued the date. So I just like changed. But it was just one of those moments where I don't think I bled through my pants since I was 16.
I know, right? How annoying.
I don't know how it happened, and I don't know why this man was there.
I think I know what happened. I think we've started syncing. I think I might have screwed your period up because
it's
I've had it
you.
recently and I feel like I might be pulling you in my direction.
I was going to blame it on the moon, so now I'm going to blame it on you because I feel better. But
Blame
it was
me.
also just like me thinking about, oh my God, I was free bleeding in front of all these children in the park.
They'll deal. They'll be fine.
But it was just one of those like second date things where like you're not meant to see that side of me yet. Like that's not meant to happen
In a
on the second
rom-com,
date.
that would definitely speed up.
It would. The intimacy.
Yeah.
You two would now be bonded
I don't think I
in
want to speed that
blood.
up.
How did you deal with it?
yeah,
Like, how did
also-
you act?
So I originally wanted to say this never happens because that sounds like a lie.
It sounds like happens all the time.
It's like this
It sounds like-
28-year-old woman doesn't know how to handle a period, even though it doesn't happen all the time. So I was just more like, oh my God, everyone would have seen it in the park. And he was like, no one would have seen it. I was only looking at you. No one else was looking. It's fine. So I was like, okay. So he was like reassuring me, but I was just like, this is the worst. And then I was like off, and then I was like, I just really want you to leave my
I have more questions about the date.
Okay.
So the date consists of walk back to your place for
Yes.
like coffee, cuddles.
Okay, so the date was the night before.
Oh, you're right.
And this was like the second phase
I've
of the
got
date.
it, right.
Thank you for pushing me.
I did. You knew I had to. I was like, so we're back at your place and what are we doing there? So
I
is
like
there
that
gonna
he
be-
told you.
Yeah, I do too.
Well,
And-
I was like bleeding out.
Yeah, but
Bleeding
a coward would have
dramatic.
waited for you to notice.
yeah, and a guy who wasn't so evolved would just be embarrassed and make an excuse and leave. Is there going to be a third date?
Unsure yet.
Okay, unclear. All right,
Unclear.
I will allow you to
Unclear.
rest on that.
Thank
on
you
that.
so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it. My best, and I'm sad that Mia Friedman's not here to hear this because she would love this, was I was sick last week. I was really sick, I promise.
I knew you must have been really sick.
I was really sick.
Yeah, to have missed filling in for me on Out Loud. I mean, who would have wanted to do
I
that?
missed Out Loud. I missed the spill. I had strep throat. And it was like one of those situations where I was like, I physically can't do my job with this type of illness. And it was also a sickness where I felt perfectly fine and I was just really upset with myself.
Because you couldn't speak.
Because I couldn't speak and like everything was hurting. I couldn't even drink water because it was like hurting to swallow. So I was just like doing nothing basically. And then when I came to work on Monday, I was like, I love being here. Like everything about being here is so good. Like I can talk, I can write, I can like do the scripting, I can jam with my friends. And I'm like, work is actually quite fun.
How long did that last? And was it less than an hour?
I'm already off it.
Mia would love it. She'd be like,
Can't
wow,
wait for the
imagine
weekend.
that, Em. You liked your job for a day. I know you like your job more.
I
than
do
a
like
day.
my job.
Yeah. Out Louders, if you are following the US presidential election, which is very fast approaching, then you will have heard us talk about our subscriber episodes with Amelia Lester. We did such a fun one this week, Holly, Amelia and I, where we opened the floor to all of your questions and Amelia answered them. Fascinating. We'll pop a link in the show notes.
That is all we have time for today, Out Loud. As a massive thank you to all of you for being with us all week. And a big thank you to you, Em Vernem.
Oh, thank you.
For filling in for Mia. It has been a pleasure to have you around. And of course, a big thank you to our team. Executive producer Ruth Devine, who thinks that secrets are an advantage so you can keep your partner on their toes. Our senior producer is Emeline Gazilas, and she is a vault who will keep your secrets sacred. I believe that.
Yeah, she keeps our
100%.
secrets sacred, that's for sure.
Our audio producer is Leah Porges, and she has no secrets. That's true. She has no secrets. And our social media producer is Isabel Dolphin, who operates on a need-to-know basis. She is an international woman of mystery. I always think that about Dolph. Definitely a woman of mystery. Thank you, Out Louders. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
Shout out to any Mamamia subscribers listening. If you love the show and you want to support us, subscribing to Mamamia is the very best way to do it. There's a link in the episode description.